Workers who rely on tips, who are the worst tippers, like couples and any group of children's sports teams, scouts, best tippers, blue-collar lunch groups, especially if they're Hispanic. If a group of 8 muddy men come in at 1 p.m., I will fight you for that table. My former high school Spanish teacher, her house all the time, and she'd get enough food to feed her whole family and then tip me $1. Have singles handy, so she'd give me a $5 and then not tip me the next 4 times I delivered to her. Fuck you, Christine. People from countries that don't usually tip. Church people on a Sunday, the offering plate already got their loose change. Teenagers, they either tip really well or not at all. Red hat ladies. And drinkin', separate bill requestin', loose change tippin' bitches, and their shitty little dogs too. God squad, I can't tell you how many fake bills I received that were actually pamphlets trying to save my soul. So fixed income, but they're usually really nice and upfront about it, since they're balling out on $0. 75 taco day. I worked as a waiter for 2 months in an officers' military club. And especially the double dippers retired officers who were also overpaid federal employees. Leave would order appetizers, entrees, dessert, coffee, etc. and leave something like a 5 tip max. The best tippers, the enlisted families, the restaurant was open to all ranks. Elderly couples usually, and not tip. Meanwhile, you could see his diamonds twinkling if he was even in your peripheral vision. Former NFL player would just give you a $100 and a date would order about $40, $50 worth of food. I don't rely on tips now, but back when I did, wealthier people were so hit and miss. Able order multiple $200 bottles of wine. They took up the majority of my evening. They tipped me $1. $1 In my experience working in Boston as a waiter briefly, it was tourists from the UAE. Then would tip absolutely nothing, often acting like they were doing you a favor for tipping at all. Scottie Pippen. I work in a low-income, predominantly African-American area. Presumably my answer will get a lot of downvotes. Yon here is mentioning any group but black people because you're terrified of being labeled racist. I was a server for years. Black people as a group don't tip. Of course, within that group you will find a number that do. Black servers I knew would try to give away their black tables. People who give a tip instead of tipping like get a new job. Trust me, nobody likes the Sunday morning afternoon church crowd. Black people in my experience. A delivery order comes in and it's heading to the ghetto. All the drivers suddenly have dishes to do. We all know, but no one is saying it. The Amish I work in Lancaster paw from time to time. I'm pretty sure the concept of tipping hasn't made it to their community yet, Lamau. The Karens who ask for water, a plate of lemons and extra sugar packets. They're making their own lemonade to save $2, so they always tip less than that. As a black American, black Americans. Black person here, please stop the we all know but I don't want to say it bit. It makes us more uncomfortable than you just saying black people. And it's true, black people can be pretty awful tippers. Black people aren't a monolith and everyone is different and some people don't care and blah blah blah. Vietnamese nail salon told me that African Americans are the most guilty on not tipping after services. And in Vietnamese, so if you guys ever hear that in the nail salon, they are talking about black people. I worked in restaurants for 20 years. There's a nationality that is notorious for poor tipping. I'm not going to say who, but I have worked with over 100 servers who would agree with me. When I was doing DoorDash, anytime the customer had a black name, you weren't getting a tip. Black Pole. I don't see anyone mentioning it, so I'll say it. Indians tip even worse than black people. Again, that's an observation, not a racist remark. I'll say it since no one else will. Black people. If it's a cultural thing or what, but they tip on average 50 less and are 100 more demanding. He was so bad and so consistent that I had to change industries. BC, I was becoming a legitimate racist. People coming in after church, the rudest, cheapest, absolutely untenable. No tips, but lots of complaints. Probably 75 of the time minimum. However, I've noticed the younger, the more likely they are to tip. They're really the only group with a really solid pattern I and everyone else in the store noticed. Every other demographic we serve frequently is too random to say anything. People from India and religious pull. Generally speaking, black people, Hispanics, and some white people. Sorry, but not sorry. Black pizza delivery driver. Diff church crowd, so entitled, rude, and never fucking tip. Elderly women crabby too. Probably their bosses'll mout. I'd answer truthfully, but I don't want to get banned from Reddit. It's black people. Stop being scared to say it. It's not racist if it's just a fact. Ease are decent, but if I see a group of 20-somethings together for a birthday or whatever, forget it. Accept your 12-way split check with only half actually tipping. Red hat ladies. Church white people, without a doubt. I fucking hate church crowd more than anyone else on the planet. They're the rudest, most entitled, and demanding. Round the restaurant causing us servers to spill our drinks on our trays and drop our cheese heaters. I hate church people, worst tippers, worst manners, most demanding and difficult. I hate you all. Foreign tourists, not their fault. People earn proper wages in their countries and teenagers. And in my experience, people who play the slot machines that get the free drinks almost never tipped. Also famous people that would come in, notoriously bad for acting entitled and not tipping. Old people, they still think $9 an hour is enough to live on. Anyone who talks about how much money they have and the expensive bullshit they can afford. They're always the ones who go, I don't have any cash on me. I'll get you next time. They'll be back, but they'll conveniently forget to bring cash again. Never mind the fact their card works just fine. Who are super nice to you and talk to you and act like your best friend and then barely tip at all. Black families. I'll get downvoted, but black people. People in large groups or events. Anytime the bar I worked at would host for large parties, no one would tip over 10 or tip at all. Europeans reference I am an European. This is gonna be great. Know who the worst tippers are, but it's not gonna be nice when you hear what you don't want to hear. From my experience, black people, Mexican people, old white ladies. The owner for making you rely on tips to live. Pay a proper wage and set your sell prices accordingly. My fiancé is in food service and confirmed Sunday lunch crowd are the worst tippers. Blacks by far. So we just not going to say it, okay? Since nobody has said it and probably won't say it, most black people. Action, almost every single time I was getting stiffed completely on the tip or getting less than 10.